Do you want to hear about my win? I thought this was going to be a slow sewing project just to get me back into the sewing mood, and this has turned into a great winning project. Stay tuned to hear more about this pattern. If you're new to my channel, my name is Cynthia, and my channel name is Mountain Accent Sewing, and I do mainly talk about sewing. I enjoy sharing what I've made. I also like doing pattern reviews and also talking about life and nature. But today we are doing a pattern review of the Noodlehead Range Backpack. I haven't felt like sewing much in the past few months, and I decided that I wanted to try this bag pattern. I've owned it for a while, and I was a little intimidated by it, to be honest, but there's no reason to be intimidated by this pattern. Let me talk about the pattern itself. We're talking about Noodlehead Range Backpack, and she has a lot of great patterns. I have tried a couple of them before, but this is the first time that I have made this type of bag, and I wanted to see if I could do it. And I thought it'd be fun picking out fabrics. And for this particular project, I actually found the quilt and cotton first at a little quilt store in Hot Springs, North Carolina. I believe it's called something like Under the Sea, but I will link the shop below. And then I started looking for the exterior fabrics, and I found those finally at Beyond the Pink Door. Andrea has always carried some great canvas fabrics, but she got in some water resistant canvas fabrics, and that's kind of like the fabric I was looking for. I do enjoy hiking, and I do have a hiking backpack, but sometimes on a shorter hike I don't need to carry my large hiking backpack, and I thought if I had a smaller one that I could carry that instead. But I do like the idea of it being a little bit water resistant. So that is why I chose the fabrics that I chose. And so my outer fabric is a dark teal and then an anthracite. I know she was sold out of the anthracite, but she may still have the dark teal. If so, I'll link it below. I also purchased the hardware that I needed from Andrea's store, and then I ordered a zipper or a set of some zippers from Amazon because I found some heavy duty rust resistant zippers, and it's a 8-inch zipper that you need for this project. So the hardware that you need is 2 1.5-inch rectangle rings. You also need 1.5-inch wide strap sliders and 2 1-inch wide D-rings. And then you'll need some fusible interfacing, and for this project she recommends a Pelon SF101, which is a little bit light to medium weight fabric, and then interfacing, and then she recommends a medium weight fusible interfacing Pelon 809. And to be honest, I forgot I had the heavier one until I started working on the project, and I used mainly the lighter interfacing, but I did add extra interfacing in the bottom using the one that was a little bit heavier. This project was a slow project for me, and mainly what made it slow is drawing all the pattern pieces, cutting those out, and cutting out all the fabric. There are 22 pieces, or there's 19 pattern pieces, and this little booklet is just a booklet of instructions, and it tells you the dimensions of the fabrics that you need, but it does not include the actual pattern pieces. So I did draw those on paper because I wanted to be able to remake this project. And that is more time consuming than just being able to cut out a pattern piece. But that also means that the patterns are a little bit more affordable because you're not paying for, I guess, the extra pattern sheets. And so there's 19 pattern pieces, but you have 7 total cut out in exterior fabric, 1 contrast bottom fabric, and 14 from your lining fabric. So you actually have 22 pieces of fabric that are cut from those pattern pieces. And then there are about 17, I think I counted right, about 17 of those are interfaced. So you are interfacing the majority of the pieces that you're using. And there are some options if you want to quilt the top, or if you use like a duck cloth or like a heavier material, then you wouldn't have to use interfacing. Or you might have to use if you're quilting it, then you would of course have to use your batting and different things. So there are some instructions that tells you what to do if you're using other types of fabrics. But I followed pretty much as is. I used, like I said, the canvas fabric for the outer, and a contrast color of also canvas for the bottom, and then a quilt and cotton for the lining. And as I was cutting out my pieces, I interfaced my pieces as I went. Now there are a couple that you have to use, like your pattern piece might be a little wider, but then your interfacing is not the full width of the fabric. So you have to pay attention to your instructions as far as that goes. And then you're basically constructing your straps, your strap holders, and attaching your hardware. She does recommend using a jeans needle size 16 or 18. And I also would recommend starting with a brand new needle, because this is easier to sew with a new needle. And I use regular Gooderman thread for my bobbin and for my top stitching. I suppose you could use a little bit heavier thread if you wanted to, but I just used the all-purpose Gooderman thread. And so back to the cutting out, once I have my pattern pieces drawn, the other thing that I would recommend is using one of these mats and a good ruler. I also used this rotary cutter as well as this little rotary cutter. This came in so handy on cutting out some of the smaller pattern pieces, because there are some little the smaller bits, and it also found it helpful when I was cutting out my interfacing. You can do it with just the one rotary cutter, but this, yeah, was used a lot during this project. And this is the Prim rotary cutter, foldable rotary cutter. I did receive this one in, I think, pink subscription box from Beyond the Pink Door. But I do know that you can carry them from, or purchase them from her shop, as well as from other carriers that have these. But it is a very handy tool. Now, I believe these are carried a lot of places, and the mat and the ruler. I've had those for a while, but I use them a lot. But it does help you get a good straight edge And so once you get all your pieces constructed for the straps, and she doesn't say here, but I imagine that for the straps you could use webbing. I would think like I think it would be really pretty for like with the tweed or a patterned webbing, but that's just me. And I may try that in a future bag because I am going to be making more of these. I've already got 2 planned for gifts, and I have a feeling that when my sister finds out I've made the other 2, that she'll be wanting one also. So I may have 3 more of these in my future. And then you're ready to start construction on the bag. So let's talk a little bit more about the construction of the bag. I found the actual sewing process to go much faster and easier than I anticipated. So initially, all that prep work is where the process is slow. But when you actually get to the sewing, it goes so well together. The instructions are so well written, and if you put in some music or watch other YouTube videos, it just seemed like my time just flew by, and I was getting a lot accomplished. And let me grab the bag. I really love the construction of this pocket, and I really like the way that her instructions tell you to create it. I have made a pocket similar to this on a pair of pants, and I really like it. Your pocket is lined, and you also add this same pleating on there, but it does help provide space if you want to, you know, put something larger in there. There is plenty of room for that. Once you have created both pocket pieces, you're going to attach your zipper, kind of like you're putting together a bag, but it's like half of a bag. And then you're basting that to this center panel. And then you have this strip that covers the other zipper edge. And I really like that technique. It makes it very pretty. So you're attaching it first to the zipper, and then you do the top part so that you can tuck in this tab here, and then you're attaching your outer panels. You're attaching your contrast bottom before you attach your back, and the back is constructed and the instructions are so well written for how to create all these tabs, adding your hardware, which ones to baste in first, and attaching your straps to these little tabs down here, and your hardware and your sliders. And she doesn't have you attach this little piece here, but I did add this metal piece at the end, but you don't have to. And I also added a patch. This was a faux leather patch that my sister-in-law made for me, and it's just like I had picked it out, a girl at a sewing machine. And so then the inside, let me take out the stuffing on the inside. Now that I've turned the bag inside out, this is the pocket, and you're cutting 2 lining pieces to create this pocket. And I really like that. I imagine if you really wanted to, you could make it the full width, add a divider, or make the pocket special for how you want it. I added a label. I think this is a Sarah Hart's label. It is made in North Carolina, and then it has the state of North Carolina on the side, or the other side. And then for my lining at the bottom, now I don't know how well the stitching shows here, but I wanted my lining to stay secure to the outer exterior fabric. And I followed a technique that Andrea shared in one of her bag kits. I purchased the Incomplete Stitches Midnight Sun bag kit, and in that kit she has you sew the pocketbook lining to the outer fabric before you close the opening at the bottom. And I decided that I wanted to follow that same technique, so I did attach it. And I did have a little bit of trouble getting then my lining under, because I do not hand stitch those. I like to go ahead and use the machine, and so I had to be very carefully tuck it in. I had trouble getting to the ends, and that was the only difficult part really of the sewing process, other than the thickness on that tab at the bottom. It is actually a really quick sew, slow cutting out, but quick sew. I highly recommend this pattern, Noodlehead Range Backpack. Like I said, there's great instructions. There's so many options of how you can construct the bag to make it personalized to you. But I do know that Andrea at Beyond the Pink Door is putting a kit together. I'm not sure what day she's releasing this, but I watched her Sunday live just this past weekend, and she announced that she is creating kits for this particular pattern. Now, I bought my materials. This is not a kit. I purchased all this myself, but I do know that she is going to have kits available for this. So keep an eye on her website and watch for the kit if you're interested, because it is a great sew. And I felt so proud of myself when I got this done. I mean, because I never imagined that I would be making a backpack, or that it would be such a fun project. And like I said, I've enjoyed it so much that I am going to make more. I've already got 2 planned, and possibly be doing a 3rd, but definitely 2 more. I hope you've enjoyed watching my pattern review, and that if you enjoy bag making, or if you've never made a bag and you're wanting to make a bag, don't be afraid to try this pattern. Anna Graham, the owner of Noodlehead, has written great instructions and just makes a lot of great bag patterns. So if you're not interested in a backpack, you can go check out some of her other patterns. I'll also link her below. And for many of her patterns, she does offer some video tutorials. I also know she has some free patterns on her website too, if you don't want to pay money to try one. You can always try one of the free patterns. I hope you've enjoyed my pattern review, and I'll see you in my next video.